All right, so I just got back in town, and I'm a little surprised that Line 6 did not drop a HELIX update, because every time I go out of town, they drop one, but they didn't yet.
It is literally so beautiful out here. My goodness.
I think I got to do this video outside.
Oh yeah, look at this real quick with me. This thing right here is like the ultimate fidget spinner. Got it at the beach. It turns this way. It turns this way. They all turn. There's some like yin yang stuff on it. You know, I don't really know what it says. It could be like a cursed item for all I know.
Here's all my land. I love it.
Got a little creek situation happening. A little Eno situation happening. And a little dirty chair situation happening. See that frog? Look at that frog. Look at that dude. Nice.
Okay, so I asked you guys over on Instagram and the community tab on YouTube, which I'm going to start posting over there a little more often because I love YouTube. And I said, hey, Line 6 hasn't dropped an update yet, but they will soon. I think they probably will first week of November, if my memory serves me correct. That seems about the timeline of when they normally drop it, because that's usually when I'm out of town in the fall. So anyways, I asked you guys what you guys would want in this next update. What are some of the things that you're wanting? Let me know down in the comments, especially if I don't say your answer, but a lot of people had a lot of great ideas. All right, this is an interesting one. Several people said this. They want a quad Cortex sized HELIX. And this got me thinking, HELIX, they have so many different sizes. You got the HX Stomp, the XL, you got the Pod Go, which is not technically HELIX, but still amazing. You have the HX Effects, you have the HELIX Floor, and the HELIX LT. So we have pretty much every size except for a quad Cortex size unit. The one that would be the closest would be HX Effects. I did see a comment that said this: I hope HX Effects will get amps and cabs. I don't think that's gonna happen because of the name HX Effects. That's what it's for. It's just for effects. If they put amps and cabs in the HX Effects, I'll be amazed. But that would be the closest thing to the form factor of the quad Cortex, I believe. But as soon as they do that, if they were to do that, I don't think they're going to do that. But if they did do that, people would be like, I wish it had an expression built in. I wish it was a little bit bigger. And so Line 6 is like, hey, we've already answered all those questions. We have the HELIX, the full HELIX. If you want a little bit smaller with expression, grab the HELIX LT. But to go any smaller than that, you have to lose a lot of DSP. You have to go down to half the DSP and get the next thing, which would be the HX Stomp XL. So I see that there is maybe a little gap there, but they already have a bunch of units. So I don't see them dropping a new hardware unit. Plus, we're talking about the firmware update. So what are some other things you guys said? Make the ability to make any amp stereo ins and outs so that we can run wet effects into the amp without having to take up 2 blocks for amps. I agree. That would be awesome. I don't know if that's possible without killing the DSP. We do know that they were able to make dual cab blocks and dual IR blocks, which is amazing. That's been a game changer, that you can run 1 amp into 2 different IRs, blend them, pan them, whatever you want to do. That's been amazing. Can they do that with amps? Can they just make 1 amp stereo without it having to be 2 separate amps? I think that's the question. Rather than having 2 different amps, can you just make 1 block and just make it a stereo thing? Or does that automatically mean you have double the DSP because it's stereo? Is it able to pan without being eaten up double DSP? I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't know. But if there's a way to do it where you don't have to eat up all that DSP, that would be amazing. That way you could run your stereo effects into a single stereo amp. We don't really have the capability to do that in the real world, but we're not in the real world. We're in the digital modeling. So I would like to see that. Someone said change block order via snapshots. Change block order via snapshots. Now, I don't know exactly. I think that was on Instagram. Let me look. Yeah, I was like, I don't think I've ever thought about that. What would you want to do? This is Casey Fitzgerald. He said, I think it would be nice to move wet effects before and after amps in different textures, 4 different textures. Compression placement is a big one too, I think. So I was like, okay. I mean, I love getting creative. Changing the block order via snapshots. Never would have thought about that. What do y'all think? The next one, phone capable editor. That would be pretty cool. There's a lot of editing that has to happen, but I have seen a phone editor with NuX effects. They have some of their stuff, and you can just click on the thing you want to adjust, like reverb or delay, and then it gives you all these sliding bars, and you can just do it. So I think it would be possible. Are they going to do that? I don't know. That would help it stand out, but I don't know if that's like at the top of the list. It would be pretty convenient, but you would also have to have it be able to connect to a phone, and I don't know if that's possible without new hardware, right? Devices have to connect either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and if it doesn't have it built in already, then we're talking about a new device, and that's not really what we're talking about. So I don't think that can happen. Capturing, that's another big one. The quad cortex, Tonex, we are entering a world, or we have already entered the world of capturing amps, not just modeling amps. So modeling amps is, for lack of my training, is getting your device to sound as close as you can to an amp by modeling and all the smart things they do behind the scenes, versus capturing an amp, which is where you actually are running a mic, you're running a tone through the amp, the cab, the mic placement, all of that to capture what that amp sounds like in a certain time. And you grab the essence of that sound and you put it into the device. And those things tend to sound pretty good, really good, actually. So I've been using captures a lot lately in the Tonex. I love them. What would Line 6 have to do to get the Helix to capture amps and cabs? I think it would be just a new device, probably. I think, again, that's probably a hardware issue, not a firmware update. I'm guessing. Let me know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not IT. I don't know how this stuff is actually built. I just enjoy the benefits of it. So let me know if you think that's a thing that can happen. Could capturing amps be just something they could reroute stuff inside and make it a software update? I don't think so. I don't know. Let me know. Somebody said Electro-Harmonix B9, C9, Key 9 organ pedals. Okay. I mean, I probably wouldn't use that, but I know a lot of people do, so that'd be cool. Touchscreen. Touchscreen is not something I've used a lot. I only have recently because I was sent the Matribox 2 Pro, and it had a touchscreen, and I was actually surprised by it. I didn't know it was going to have a touchscreen because I didn't look into it. Opened it up, and I was like, oh, I just like my finger went up there to like click on something intuitively, and it worked. I was like, what am I doing? Oh, it's touchscreen. That's amazing. Quad Cortex, big touchscreen screen. Again, though, we're talking about hardware and not firmware. You can't make a touchscreen with a firmware update. But it is cool to dream. A touchscreen would be nice. I think that would be the next step, maybe in the Helix 2. Make it have the ability to connect to the phone, make it capture amps and cabs, have touchscreen, make it quad cortex sized, I guess. I don't know if they're going to do that, though. Someone said allowing worship guitarists to create a different sound would be a cool feature. I don't know if they're joking. Maybe they're trolling. I mean, you mean like change the worship sound altogether and make it sound like a different genre? Or do you just mean being able to change parameters? Because that's exactly what these devices do. So I don't know if he's being funny or what. The next one, more DSP. Now, I know just from research and hearing interviews, it's not possible without hardware to add more DSP to the current Helix lineup. However, it is possible, probably, to make things less DSP heavy, like get the same quality with less DSP. We've kind of already seen that. I think it was the 3.5 or the 3.7 update where they gave us the dual cab, dual IR in one block. And so they said it takes up a lot less DSP. I remember reading all about that. And so you're like, oh, they found a way to get something that used to take up this much DSP and make it a lot less. So could they continue to develop that technology to where things are taking up less DSP? I think they could. And then that way we could, I mean, we've already seen they had 6 blocks, went to 8 blocks. The dual cab thing, it's able to be done. Can they do that with amps to make a single amp stereo? Could they do that with reverbs, keeping the quality, making them less DSP, so then we could have more effects, not worry about things being grayed out? Somebody said the other day they wish they had like a meter of letting you know when the DSP is like running low, other than just going to grab something and it being grayed out, which that would be kind of cool too. Another person said tone captures, yes, more amps and more effects and then more amps. I can imagine that that's probably going to be definitely in an update, is just more and more amps, getting more different tones, which if you think about the amount of tones you can get with a single amp right now. Right now, you have one amp that you can change bass, treble, presence, cut, perhaps, depending on what amp it is, and get a bunch of different sounds like that. Then you have the cab where you can choose between how many is it, like 10, 12 different mics that can give you different tones. And then you can move those mics around, distance, back and forth, cone, edge to the center, getting all different kinds of tones. Then you can change cabs. You don't even have to stick with the same speaker. So there are already like an infinite amount of sounds that you can get, but probably having more amps is what they're going to put in there, I can imagine. Mark said volume meters for gain staging or some kind of automatic global volume adjustment for all patches would be nice. That is a big topic. It's a big pain point for people. They want to know how to level presets. I bought a preset here. I made my own preset. People tend to just keep adding gain and adding volume, so the presets are really loud, and then you go from one preset to another. I can understand. That would be cool. Some sort of metering thing so we can see exactly. Just make everything the same. Somebody said this, I totally agree. To be honest, if it never got updates again, I'd still use it for the dynamic reverbs alone. They're pretty amazing. Even without the reverbs, yes, if they never gave us an update again, it would be completely fine. We just have come to expect it because they keep giving it to us. And that's kind of the fun. It builds up. I think it's a great business model because it builds a lot of buzz around their units. And I think that's amazing. Plus, they keep giving us more and more value, and all we've had to do is pay once. I'm waiting on an update that turns my HX Stomp into a quad cortex. People are loving the quad cortex. They just want the ease and the community, I think, of Line 6 to be quad cortex. Preset spillover for the HX Stomp, please. If you don't know, you don't get preset spillover. You can use snapshots. Each snapshot can be a song. I like doing that a lot. But if you go from one preset to another, you get this cut. And with the Helix, you can bypass this by using the two chips. So basically, you would just use one line, essentially turning your Helix into an HX Stomp by having one line of effects. Then when you click to a new preset, it will use the DSP you're not using on that second line to have spillover between presets. People have been asking for that for a long time. I don't think it's going to come to the HX Stomp because we only have one DSP chip in the Stomp. So I don't think that's possible. Better split crossover or just implement a filter block similar to Fractal to eliminate tone suck. I mean, we do have EQ blocks, but you have to put the block in. Do you mean just like built in, kind of like the input gate at the front where it's like built in, it doesn't take up a block? I guess that'd be kind of cool. Another one I've heard people say is being able to, and I've wanted to do this so many times, be able to enable the B path without having to drag a block down on it. There are times where I wanted to bypass something or just pull down a B path and use the split block to send tones down to the B path, but I had to pull something down there to enable it, for it to even show up. And I want to do that without having to put a block on there. Yes. I'd like a ramping tremolo that doesn't need expression. Let me control that in parameters. I think the only way to do that would be to take, and this would be very cool, I've said this before, take what they have in the HX1, which is the flux parameter adjustment. If you don't know, you click the flux and it takes whatever parameters in, like whatever parameter changes you want to do. Instead of it happening immediately, you can adjust how they happen. So you could increase the decay over a 3-second span and decrease the mix over a 10-second span and adjust and customize all these parameter changes with the flux parameter adjustment. I would love to see that in the Helix HX Stomp. I think that would take things to the next level for sure. I would like a way to balance output levels from preset to preset. Yes, we talked about that. Compressor meters on the HX Stomp, because I think you have compression meters on the Helix. I've seen it on there. Someone said a kilt. Okay. Let me know down in the comments what are the things that you're looking forward to the most. I forgot to say this up at the top of the video, but one of the things I would want as a Helix HX Stomp user and a PodGo user, there's something they do in PodGo Edit that they need to bring to HX Edit, and that is little minimum and maximum arrows on the parameter bars themselves. So right now in the Helix, if your mix is at 32% and you want to set a foot switch to toggle up and down, you have to go over to the next tab and the two parameters are there that you can set how you want. But the minimum is at 0 and the maximum is at 100. And then I'm like, oh yeah, what was the mix? I got to go back over and I'm like, oh, it's 32. Okay, cool. Now move that up to 32 and maybe move the maximum up to 50. And I'm like, I want to do the decay while I'm here. Well, now I got to go back over to that other tab and see where my decay was and come back over and try to remember. It's not very intuitive. It's kind of a pain. And so PodGo made it super easy where you just are on the page where you see the parameter bars and you can just drag the little arrows where you want them for your minimum and maximum, and you can do it all right there without having to leave and go to a different tab. So that's what I want. Please Line 6, do that in the next update. That'd be fantastic. Thank you, Line 6, for always giving us new stuff, even when we don't deserve it. Even when we get a bad attitude that you haven't made what we think in that moment is the perfect unit. You really have. You've given us a lot, and we are appreciative. We are, because we use it all the time. All right, y'all, I got work to do. Hey, if you want to support this channel, you can download presets right now for the HELIX, HX Stomp, HX Effects, HX Stomp XL, Pod Go, all of it. Sunday Ready pack is like 10 presets. It is 10 presets. Well, it's actually 20 presets because I dialed in humbucker presets on 10 different amps and single coil presets on 10 different amps. Sunday Ready, people ask me all the time, what's the difference? Sunday Ready pack is those. It's just 10 presets that are ready to go. They're all very similar in how I made them. The Expanse pack is an ever-growing collection of presets. It's different. It has a ton of presets in there and some fun stuff, a lot of good amps and IRs and a bunch of things that I've just added over the years. So you can go right now, click the link below, go check those out, help support the channel. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.